without further ado, introduce the Reverend Luke Thompson.
This is what we're going to be talking about tonight. So in our culture, there's this new type of genre in TV and film, and in general that's kind of been popping up in the last 10 years or so. And it particularly started up with this one show that we call The Sopranos. How many of you have seen episodes of The Sopranos? Extremely award-winning show that's taken place. But what's interesting about it is the main character in it is a villain, right? So he's a gangster. And we follow the gangster's life, and we kind of root for the gangster, and that's kind of the person that we're following and we kind of fall in love with and we struggle with. But at the same time, we recognize that he's doing a lot of things that aren't exactly kosher. Sons of Anarchy falls into the same type of genre that we could talk about. Again, the hero here is a gangster, is part of illegal criminal activity, but at the same time, we kind of root for him. He's absolutely cool, super sexy. Weeds, very similar situation, but now we've got something going that's slightly different. Not only is our protagonist this kind of anti-hero character that's doing illegal stuff, but she's like a suburban mom, right, in Weeds. And so a suburban mom that has this secret life that no one else knows about. And so this secret life is something that only you as a viewer really know and a few key people within it, but it's really about how this ordinary person, just like any one of us living out in the burbs, can have this kind of secret life that's going on. And this has kind of been something that's particularly developed. Yeah, why don't we plug that in? Nurse Jackie. Has anyone seen Nurse Jackie? This hasn't been quite as popular, but it's gotten tons of awards, tons of Emmys and whatnot. She's probably one of the most decorated actors for what she's doing. She's a nurse that is extremely unethical. And so all you're doing throughout the episodes and throughout all the series is you're doing lots of unethical things. Anyone seen Hung? No? No one's seen this? That's not necessarily a bad thing. Hung is about a high school football coach, athletic coach, that decides to become a male prostitute. And this has garnered lots and lots of awards as well. But again, what we've got with Nurse Jackie and with Hung and with Weeds is we've got kind of the same type of story going on here, where we've got someone that has this kind of outside life that the rest of the world sees, and then there's the secret life that's taking place behind it that's going on. This particularly came to the forefront in the show Dexter, which got probably more awards than anything else we've looked at so far. Sopranos got an awful lot of awards. Anyone seen Dexter? Now this is extremely popular, extremely well done. Again, what's the theme of this? You have one character who for several seasons, no one knows what he does, who he really is. Instead, he puts on this facade. He's a blood spatter specialist, analyst, that works for the Miami Metro Police Department. But that's not really what this is all about. It's about the fact that he's got this secret life that no one else knows about. And then the one that's probably garnered the most awards, the most attention, has been Breaking Bad. Who's seen some episodes of Breaking Bad? Now this is a pretty amazing show, and we've got the exact same kind of theme that's going on at this, where we've got someone that's got an ordinary life. To the rest of the world, he's just, a high school chemistry teacher, and then he's just a guy that runs a car wash. But in reality, there's something far deeper going on, and what you're really watching this show for is about the secret life that he has going on behind it. So the question is, what is it about this thing going on in culture that everyone's particularly interested in? I mean, why would we be interested in these shows? And I'm asking this as a question to you. Why would we be interested in the shows where we've got someone that is on the outside, just like you and me, just does an ordinary life, has an ordinary kind of way of living, but on the inside there's something secret or sinister or dark that's going on, yet at the same time this is the person we're rooting for, this is the person that we're watching, the person we're interested in. Why would we be interested in this in today's culture? I mean, this is a lot of highly acclaimed TV that we've just looked at right here. And there's movies we can talk about as well, but there's something about TV shows. Why would we be interested in this? Have you ever asked yourself that when you're like 5 seasons into Dexter, why am I watching this? Right, or 5 seasons into Breaking Bad? What is it? Yeah. It's attractive? Why is it attractive? What's attractive about it? So what's attractive about it? We want to see how it plays out as Christians anyways, but we're not just talking Christians watch this show. I mean, Christians along with billions of other people. What do you think is attractive about it? Yeah.
Those people don't have to play by the rules.
They don't have to play by the rules, and you want to? You want to be like Walter White? Oh, I'm seeing a lot of heads nod. You want to be like Dexter? You want to be like that gym teacher? Huh? Okay, so there's something about it that we like the idea that they're getting away with a secret life. Is that what you're getting at? Good. Other ideas? Yeah.
More exciting than our lives.
It's more exciting than our lives. In what way is it more exciting? It's more exciting to stab people?
I mean, I don't know any meth dealers or male prostitutes, so I mean, when I see a show about that, it's like, oh, what's that about?
Okay, so you don't get to experience prostitution. But in the show, you get to see what it's all about. That's valid, yeah. I won't argue with that, yeah.
I was just trying to work yours out, just because they're like, we're curious, because we don't really live that life. We don't know, so we're curious. We just want to know.
Okay, so we don't live that life. Because one of the comments that I heard in the beginning was that we actually do live that type of life. And now you're saying we don't live that type of life. And there's truth in both of these answers, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of divide this up into 3 different areas that we're going to look at. And the first one, we're going to discuss just real quickly this phenomenon that we call Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad is tremendously successful. 7 Primetime Emmy Awards, and this is before the last slew of awards has come through. So chances are most of these numbers are going to double by the end of the year. 7 Primetime Emmy Awards, including Outstanding Lead Actor, 3 consecutive years. So that's 3 consecutive seasons in a row. He's gotten the most distinguished acting award in television. Outstanding Supporting Actor, 2 years in a row, right? TCA Award for Outstanding Achievement in Drama, Satellite Awards, up the wazoo. The Writers Guild of America Award for Television. So the writing for the show is extremely attested to by the public. So it's got all of this stuff that's going on in it. Now, we're going to just watch a couple clips and we're going to ask ourselves, well, what's going on here? What is it about this show that is particularly driving why we might be enjoying it? All right, so Jesse Pinkman, Walter White, first season, they have just started doing their drug trafficking. At this point, what does this tell us, this episode, this little montage? What's it trying to tell us about the drug trade? What would you say? Right, I mean, it's obviously doing something about that.
A lot of like regular life situations, like it's not, there's a lot of things I can relate to, like the grocery store or the bathroom and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so a lot of everyday scenes. We're not just like seeing dealing in clubs or something like that, but instead it's covering the full gamut of the human experience. Good. What else? Get rich quick. Why would you say it's illustrating that? Okay, so all right, so it's demonstrating how they're making their money, how they're getting rich quick. If we just think about that for a minute, we do see a lot of money going on. Does anyone really get rich? Think about like the dealers and Jesse Pinkman and whatnot. Does their life ever, I mean, are they ever living the high life? Maybe that's the way we should put it. Do they ever? I mean, like at one point, Jesse Pinkman has like a sweet stereo. That's kind of it, right? So we see a lot of dealing, we see a lot of money transactions, we see exactly what's going on, but I would argue we don't see a whole lot of like monetary development. It's not like these guys are somehow great entrepreneurs of some sort and making a great life for themselves. But I know what you mean. Yeah,
At first it looks almost appealing,
Yeah, okay, so it looks almost appealing and fun at the beginning, right? And the music that's getting played, right? It's that really fun music, and it's like they're doing a lot of fun stuff. Is this glamorizing the drug trade, what we're seeing? Is it showing it to be beautiful? Is it showing it idealized? Or is it kind of ugly? I mean, there's like some fun to it, but the overarching kind of feel is you're watching all this fun music and you're seeing just a lot of shady stuff going on the entire way through, and then it ends with just a bunch of really ugly people ripping off the drug dealer. It's not exactly glamorizing. I mean, it's not like you watch this and you say, I want to do what they're doing, right? Rooting through the toilets and everything. So I think Breaking Bad doesn't in any way glamorize drug dealing. Would you agree with that? It definitely does not seem to be the point of the show to show that it's glamorous. I mean, it shows them at times with money, and it shows them trying to get a lot out of life through it. But at the end, it's rather disappointing. And I think that's part of the sense of the montage. So what happens then after this is the guy gets ripped off. Jesse Pinkman has to go and get the money from the couple that ripped him off. All right? And so now the next thing that we're going to see, there's an entire episode dedicated to Pinkman in the house of this couple that just ripped off the drug dealer. An entire episode. And just tell me, while you're watching this episode, just tell me what you think is the point of this, why they would spend an entire episode on this. All right, so in my opinion, I think Jesse Pinkman kind of steals the entire show. Jesse Pinkman's there to do what? He's there to kill the two parents, right? And he shows up, and he instead ends up making a sandwich for their kid. What do you think's the point of an entire episode of this? Watching Jesse hang out with this little kid. Why spend an entire episode on this? To show addiction, to show selfishness. Yeah, good. What else?
It's kind of like a tough decision he has to make because he needs to like keep the system going, yet he sees that these are like actual real people that have a house and a family and have like obvious struggles, and you can't just pull the trigger and kill somebody. They're a person too, they have a life.
Yeah, right. So he sees not only the problem that he has, this kind of moral dilemma that he's put himself in as a drug dealer now, but he sees the entire system that he's a part of, right? And the whole cycle of kind of tragedy that takes place in his business, not on the business side, but on the receiving side of the goods, right? I mean, clearly the whole point of this episode, the whole point of it is to show how utterly tragic and depressing the entire thing is that's going on in this show, like behind the scenes. I've got a 2-year-old right now, and when I first saw this episode, I saw it the time I saw it a second time, I had a completely different reaction when my boy was 1 year old. Because if you're holding a 1-year-old, in your hands, the thing that you notice more than anything else, if you're holding them, is what their fingers are doing. Their fingers are continually kind of going like this on you, and they're kind of grabbing things, and they're just finding new things to touch and hold. And I'm watching this episode, and I see that kid's fingers just playing with the duct tape on the end of the couch. And like my heart like just sinks all the way down into my shoes as I'm watching it. It's completely tragic. And so you put the montage that takes place in the episode right before it, and you see how it ties this into it. It's showing that what's going on behind the scenes, what Walter White is actually being a part of, is something that's extremely terrible and tragic. And that's what the producers and the writers are trying to do, right? We're not reading anything into this. We're not reading our own values into it. This is exactly what he wants us to do. So now enter Walter White. This next scene that we're going to see, Walter White, he has cancer, and his son has just raised money for his cancer treatment. And so the local TV station is now coming to do an interview of Walter White and his family because his son is raising money for his cancer treatment. Walter White's own money, the money that he's generating from drug dealing, he's also using to pay for his cancer treatment. But now he's going to have a camera right on him and right on his family. And I want you to tell me what the point, if you could use one word to describe what this scene is about, what would that one word be? Okay? Conflict. Overwhelming.
Because he's getting all these things he doesn't deserve to be called, and forget what his son thinks of him, is all these things, and that's not what he thinks of himself.
Yeah, good. I heard, what was the other word? Guilt. What thoughts do you think are going through Walter's head? What are the thoughts? Because obviously the whole point of that scene is for you to think about what he's thinking. That camera, it just zooms in on him. It just zooms in on him. All the talking is going on somewhere else, and the camera is continually zooming right in on the face of Walter. So what's he thinking? What's going through his brain? If only they knew the truth.
Like he wishes what they're saying was true about him.
He wishes that it was true, right? This is what I picture him saying. You don't know me. You don't know me. You have no idea who I am really. And all of these words. Has this ever happened to you where you're with someone else? And people are singing praises about you or saying how nice you are, this or that. And in the back of your mind, you're hearing the words about how people are describing what you're like and how good you are and how good you are for society and how good of a friend you are. And inside you're saying, shut up. Just shut up. Because you have no idea what I am on the inside. You have no idea what I'm going through. And that's the whole point of the show. Is that no one really knows Walter White, and he's got this deep secret that he's hiding from everyone else. That's like the first 4 seasons until the 5th, when everything just breaks through, and he's no longer hiding, and everyone sees him for who he truly is. And so this is what I call the secret in the types of films that we're watching or that we're talking about, these types of TV shows, and they're in all of them. And just see how closely this resonates with Job. So this is Job chapter 4. If you remember Job is about one guy that does a lot of good things, but then Satan says, if Job had things terrible, God, then he wouldn't be a holy person. And God says, all right, go and tempt him, go do what you want. And so the devil takes everything from Job, kills all of his family, kills everything. And then 3 friends show up after everything is taken away from Job. 3 friends show up, and they all have different excuses, different things of trying to justify why this is happening to Job. And this is what one of his friends say. And just listen to these words. A word was secretly brought to me. My ears caught a whisper of it. Amid disquieting dreams in the night, when deep sleep falls on people, fear and trembling seized me and made all my bones shake. A spirit glided past my face, and the hair on my body stood on end. It stopped, but I could not tell what it was. A form stood before my eyes, and I heard a hushed voice. Can a mortal be more righteous than God? Can even a strong man be more pure than his maker? Have you ever laid there awake at night in the midst of disquieting dreams, and all that's going through your mind, is all the crap that you've done, how horrible you've been that day, and the guilt that weighs down on you. And it's as if there's a specter there that's accusing you of everything that you've done that day, of all the horrible things that you've done in life. I have nights like that. And you know why? Because you don't know me. You don't know me. I could be Walter White. I could have the same secrets. And the truth of the matter is you know that about yourselves as well. And what Breaking Bad does for us, even though the writers aren't Christian, even though the writers aren't even interested in any of the theological stuff that we bring into this, they know what human nature is like, and they know the secrets that humans have because they're human just like you, and so they hide it just like you. And so that's what their art is expressing, this torment that goes on in a soul that leads a double life, the double life that we all live. So that's the first thing we can talk about, this idea of the secret. Now we're going to move on to a new one here. This is a interesting comic book that I came across once. Monsters are just like us, right? Monsters are just like us. They never clear a paper jam just like you. I love the monsters. They grill the burgers extra well done just like you. They think double decaf, non-fat, no foam latte is coffee, just like you. They get ready for a blind date, just like you. They also look good without their shirt on, just like you. They always wear their mask, just like you. I don't know if this is supposed to be funny. I don't know if it is. Because when I read it, after just watching a lot of Dexter and Breaking Bad, it was not very funny to me. Because the whole point is that this is really who you and I are in one extreme. And one show that particularly explores this idea of what it means to be a monster and wear a mask that everyone sees is the show that we've come to know called Dexter. Dexter, and yeah, I mean, look at this is, their official wallpaper, and look at the theme on it, guilt can be a killer. So again, this is nothing that I'm making up here. This is the point of the producers and the script writers. Dexter has been nominated for or received awards for 19 Primetime Emmy Awards. Outstanding Drama Series 3 times in a row, so 3 seasons. The first 4 seasons of Dexter were highly acclaimed. Some of the best TV, a lot of reviewers were saying, ever. The last 4 seasons didn't do so well, but the first 4 did extremely well. Outstanding Leading Actor in Drama Series 4 times in a row. That means 4 seasons in a row, from 2008 to 2011. Over a dozen Creative Art Emmy Awards. So Creative Art Emmy Awards. The show's particularly well known for doing something that other TV shows don't do, right? Being very creative in what it does. Writers Guild of America Awards. So this is Dexter. And we're going to take a look at a couple clips here. And again, just kind of ask yourself, what's the point? What is the writers of the show trying to tell you? What's the whole point of it? All right, so we should mention real quick what the plot of Dexter is. Dexter is a serial killer again, but he's a very special kind of serial killer. What's special about him? Who does he kill? He kills serial killers, right? So he's a serial killer that lives by a specific code that says he can only kill people that have killed other people. So that's kind of the thing that's going on here. And this woman is a police officer that killed some members of her own family. And so now he's figured that out. He's done detective work, and now he's going to kill her. And so every episode or 2 or 3 episodes revolve around his next victim and him solving the crimes and demonstrating how that person has killed someone else. And then we watch Dexter kill that person. Well, we don't always watch it. But that's the plot of it. That's the plot of the show. Now, in the very beginning of the scene, Dexter says, these are all props. What's he talking about there? He's in his house. There's toys around. There's books around. There's that mug that gets cracked. In what sense are all of these things props? I mean, what's going on here?
Basically, they're just items to kind of show that he's a normal person, even though he's like not deep down.
Yeah, right. So they're all, and this is just very explicitly said in the show, he lives this life so that he can hide himself. And so literally he gets married, he has kids, all these types of things so that he can hide himself as best as possible. And he recognizes that all these things in his life, all the things that look ordinary, are in a sense just props that keep us from knowing who he really is. But when he's in the thick of it, all things get revealed, and the montage that goes on, or the inner thoughts that go on, and the discussions that he has with his victims, the only time that he's ever talking to someone about who he really is, we tend to learn an awful lot. Because the victims that he's trying to kill, they've got a few things to say as well. You have to choose. You're not going to be able to hide this forever. At some point, Dexter, you're going to have to choose between what you want to do and your family. You're going to have to choose between the facade that you're putting on and that you sometimes get connected with, and with all the secrets that you're keeping from that. And so the show is very frank about all of this. What is it that you hold on to in your life? What is it that's secret in your life that at some point you're going to have to make a choice between? The horrible things that you're keeping hidden within yourself that you like to do in private, or that you're hiding from people, the things that you think about other people. And at some point, you're going to have to make a choice. And this is just the whole line of thought that's going on throughout the whole show. We've got one more scene from Dexter that we need to watch here. Oh, is that what I wanted to talk about? Yeah, next scene. No, he really has no intention whatsoever of changing who he is. Is he really scared that she's going to abandon him? Absolutely. Absolutely scared that she's going to abandon him if she really knew what she was going to find out, if she could find out what he was really about. And so, again, I think this is very revelatory for a lot of reasons. There was one time after I had been married for maybe about 4 or 5 years, and my wife Christine and I, we saw this sermon series that was specifically designed for couples. And at one point, after like 5 or 6 of the sermons and lessons and whatnot, and we were really kind of getting into it and enjoying it, and at one point then the pastor says, now it's time that you actually start showing who you really are to the person that you married to. Because one of the biggest problems with couples in this day and age, particularly when we've got so many ways to hide things, is that there's a part of you, a very dangerous part of you, that your spouse knows nothing about, that can cause tremendous problems. And so we gunned up and we did that. And that was, hands down, one of the scariest things I've ever done. You know, and we both told each other some things that we got off our chest. And after that point of confession, things are literally different from this point on. I mean, it's not like we got into details or anything like that, but just so that the other person knows to a point where you are comfortable enough to actually show the darkness that you have inside of you to your spouse. That's something that this world that we live in just doesn't experience, where we're honest about who we are with the people around us. And not just in marriages, but in friendships, with classmates, with coworkers, with everyone that we come in contact with. There is always this facade that we're holding up, and we don't ever really truly let people know, except for maybe minor times when we let people know about who we really are behind it. And the truth of the matter is what we're hiding is not so much the things we do. Dexter isn't really primarily concerned about showing his wife or people knowing what he does, but he's primarily interested in hiding who he is. He sees it as an identity issue. And this is just very clear. A couple quotes from the show. So he's got this inner monologue that goes on. So we get to hear the thoughts of Dexter throughout the show. Born in blood, both of us. Harry was right. I thought I could change what I am. Keep my family safe. But it doesn't matter what I do, what I choose. I'm what's wrong. This is fate. It's an identity issue. He looks at himself and he realizes that he's a monster. My dark passenger, that's the word that he uses to describe the inner urges that he has to kill people. The inner urges for his thing that he's dealing with. My dark passenger is like a trapped coal miner, always tapping, always letting me know it's in there, still alive. In another episode, I can do it. I can manage all these moving parts. The show is in no way glorifying what Dexter is doing. At least not when we're looking at the monologues and when we're looking at what actual thoughts Dexter is dealing with on a day-to-day basis. The writers clearly know that what's at stake here is that at the end of the day, Dexter is not some type of unique individual. Dexter is just like you and just like me. We could say the exact same things as he does. We all have dark passengers that are constantly tapping at us. We all try to juggle and manage it all in our lives. And when you're watching the show, you're not watching it because you necessarily want to do the things that Dexter does. I don't think very many people are watching it for that reason. But instead, they're watching it because they relate to Dexter. We relate to him. And so there's only one way that we can kind of describe what's going on here, especially in the types of shows that kind of mirror what's going on with Dexter, is that part of what this secret is that's being hidden is that within you, you're really a monster. And this is really revealed at the end of Breaking Bad 2 in the final season, that what Walter White has become because of his choices is he's just a tragic, miserable monster loser at the end of it all. And death is just simply a release for him. So, now what's the reason behind this all? There's this interesting French comic book that I saw called The Killer, and it's about a serial killer that goes about doing hits and whatnot. And this is a couple pages from it. So this is the thoughts of this hitman. He says, Milgram's experiment showed it, proved it. Give 10 randomly chosen guys a gun, and they will torture and kill as long as they're not held responsible and remain safe. That's the story of the 101st German Reserve Police Battalion. Regular men, ordinary guys with a job and a family. No Nazis, no fanatics from all backgrounds. The Wehrmacht called in 500 of them in 1942. They were sent out to the Polish backcountry. In 16 months, they killed 38,000 Jews in cold blood, a bullet in the head, men, women, children, old folks. They sent 45,000 more to the camps. For what? You know what else? They could have turned it down. With nothing to fear, they could have refused. The capper is that even today, those guys are still around cashing in pensions from the German state as veterans, even as war victims, ain't it rich? So what's the point of this? Why is he talking about all of these things? What's he trying to demonstrate? This has nothing to do with the plot. This is just him thinking. What's going on here? What's he discussing? What's he trying to tell you? Yeah, right? Everyone's capable of this. Everyone has this kind of evil within them that makes them capable of these things. Everyone's corrupted. And so this is a hitman saying it. Why is a hitman saying it? Why would this be coming from a hitman instead of a pastor in a pulpit? I'm no different from you. He's justifying who he is. He's saying, you think I'm bad? Anyone would do it. You would all do it if you had the opportunity. If you could kill and no one would know and you would get away with it, you would all want that kind of power. Maybe not in the specific situations, but you all have your soft spot. You all have that thing that you could give into very easily if you knew no one would know about it. I have no problem with what I do. If you really think about it, we're all murderers, one way or the other. Any life, whatever it is, requires a kind of permanent violence to take its place in the world. It can only blossom at the expense of other living things. There's no way around it. I'm not gonna tell you about vegetarians in leather shoes or leather jackets, or about third world children who work like slaves so our kids can show off in school, or about the weapons we spread all over the world that we give to small-time dictators. Hey, I'd love to, but the list would be too long. Who doesn't have a slaughter on their conscience? The Germans with the Jews in the Holocaust, the Turks with the Armenians, the Spanish with the Aztecs and the Mayas, the Americans with the Native Americans, the Chinese with the Tibetans, the Australians with the Aboriginal people, the English, the French, the Japanese, the juntas of South America and Africa. Man's history is just an endless list of atrocities, and we're not through with it. We're living on a pile of corpses, but people keep saying man is good. You know the figures. The 350 richest men in the world own as much as the 2.3 billion poorest. The first one who lectures me about life, liberty, and all that crap I should just shoot him. That's what he'd deserve. And what's the point of this? What's he doing here? Somewhat similar to the first one. He's just justifying what he does. He says we're no all different at the end of it. We're all killers. We've all been a part of it. And so even when it comes to something like murder, you could say, well, I'm not a murderer. I don't do any of the things that Dexter does. But you all are part of the cycle. We're all part of it. Part of all the atrocities of our own country and our own people and the whole history of where all of our stuff comes from. We're all a part of it on some level. We just like to pick out certain people and say they're the bad ones and ignore what we're a part of at the end of it. And so that's the killer. And so now, one more quote from Dexter. I just know there's something dark in me and I hide it. I certainly don't talk about it, but it's there always. This dark passenger, and when he's driving, I feel alive, half sick with the thrill of complete wrongness. I don't fight him. I don't want to. He's all I've got. Nothing else could love me, not even, especially not me. Or is that just a lie the dark passenger tells me? Because lately there are these moments when I feel connected to something else. Someone, it's like the mask is slipping and things, people who never mattered before are suddenly starting to matter. It scares the hell out of me. This is not the Bible. This is not some religious or Christian text. This is Dexter. It's from the actual show. What would you say to Dexter? What would you say to him? Wealth is worthless in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivers from death. In all honesty, how would you respond to Dexter? How do you respond to your friend that speaks the exact same way or is at least thinking the exact same thoughts? What do you say? It's going to be a complete downer if none of you have an answer to this.
I'm just like you.
I'm just like you, and that makes it all better? Because we've all come to that conclusion right now that we're all just like Dexter. I'm guessing we're mostly depressed in this room right now. Is there anything more you can say?
Jesus died for everybody's sins. And even though we think we have it the worst, he took away that too. And that's the beauty of the gospel because it doesn't put boundaries on who is saved and who is not saved. It encompasses everybody, male, female, Jew or Greek. It doesn't matter. We're all saved under the blood of Jesus. And that's what God's going to look at on the last day. And I think that is the most beautiful thing I could ever possibly think of.
And the most beautiful thing you could ever say, right? I'm not going to try to summarize all of that. But at first, the first thing we say is, thank you for being brutally honest about the situation. Thank you for being honest and recognizing what the real condition is. And now, the other thing we have to be honest with is that there's nothing we can do about it ourselves. There's nothing. Dexter, Walter White, all of them, they're hopeless cases. I won't tell you how they end, but they're not happy endings. The final seasons of these shows. In fact, all the final seasons are dark and depressing, and they're all just getting more and more depressing as you get closer to that final, as depressing as it gets episode. Because there's no hope in this world. Even when you come to terms with the fact of who you are as a human being, there's no hope. And so you have to look somewhere else for that hope. And you're not going to find that hope on any of these shows because the script writers don't know about it. And the actors don't know about it. And the producers don't know about it, or they don't want to know about it. And so this is the way that another Dexter, another Walter White deals with it. David, probably the one person in the Bible we go to first when we're talking about someone with deep, dark secrets. adultery, murder, everything that goes along with that. And as a king, all the secrets that the king that was described as the one closest to God's heart, who's supposed to be this pillar of moral excellence, and we see the darkness that's within him, this is how he responds to it all. Have mercy on me, O God, according to your unfailing love, according to your great compassion. Blot out my transgressions. For I know my transgressions, and my sin is always before me. Against you, you only, have I sinned and done what is evil in your sight. So you are right in your verdict, and justified when you judge. Surely I was sinful at birth, sinful from the time my mother conceived me. Yet you desired faithfulness even in the womb. You taught me wisdom in that secret place. Cleanse me with hyssop, and I will be clean. Wash me, and I will be whiter than snow. Let me hear joy and gladness. Let the bones you have crushed rejoice. Hide your face from my sins, and blot out all my iniquity. Create in me a pure heart, O God. David recognizes that there is one person you're not going to be able to fool. There's one person you cannot hide who you are from, and that's God. And that's why the primary person you're sinning against, and that I sin against, and that we all sin against in our own lives, when no one else knows about it, the primary person that's the victim is God, because you're his child, and he knows what his child is doing. And so there's only one response to it. God, you've got to do something about it. And there's tremendous hope that the gospel offers in this. Tremendous hope. You can be cleansed. You can be washed clean. And it's all because of what Christ has done for you. And it's a fact, too, right? A historical fact that you can't change. Nothing can change the fact that Christ has died for your sins and cleanses you and robes you in his righteousness. So where does that leave us in all of this? Our culture isn't really all that big on talking honestly about the human nature. But our art can't avoid it. If it's going to in any way realistically show what the human condition is like, then it will resonate with what Scripture teaches, with what God's truth is. And so that's what we find. But it only goes so far. And that's where you have the ability to do something with it. Because you know how the story can end. It doesn't have to end the way that it ends here, and it doesn't have to end the way that you picture your own life ending because you're just like Dexter or you're just like Walter White. There's a different ending, and you know how it can end. I guess I'm done. I don't really have anything. Yeah, that's it.